The court's 6-3 decision on the 22nd of June, 2025 sent a shockwave through millions of law-abiding gun owners across the country, not because it created sweeping new laws out of thin air, but because it clarified how existing federal rules must now be enforced. Many Americans over the age of 50 have followed firearm regulations for decades without a single issue. Yet this ruling has tightened interpretations in ways that affect everyday behaviors. As the dust settles, owners are discovering practical consequences they never expected, and more than a few are realizing that what was once considered a harmless routine could now bring unwanted legal attention. Staying informed matters more than ever. And that is why sharing this video with others who rely on responsible guidance is so important. One of the biggest changes involves the definition of what counts as a federally regulated transfer. The court upheld the government's authority to treat repeated private sales as commercial activity when the seller appears engaged in the business, even if no formal storefront exists. That means a retiree who occasionally sells old hunting rifles at community events may now fall under closer scrutiny if those sales occur several times a year. The ruling does not create new licensing requirements, but it strengthens the government's ability to apply the existing federal dealer rules to individuals whose activity resembles a business. This shift has already prompted some owners to rethink how often they sell personal firearms, even if each sale is perfectly legal. Another area that gained new clarity is safe storage expectations within the home. Federal law still leaves primary authority to the states, but the court confirmed that prosecutors may cite unsafe storage as evidence of negligence when a firearm is accessed by prohibited individuals, such as minors or persons under restraining orders. For many older Americans caring for grandchildren or aging relatives, this reinforces the importance of keeping firearms secured even during brief household visits. The ruling does not mandate federal storage devices, but it makes clear that a simple oversight like leaving a loaded revolver on a nightstand can carry far more legal risk than it did a decade ago. Background check documentation also sits under a brighter spotlight. Federal law has long required accurate information on the ATF Form 4473, but the court's decision emphasized that buyers are fully responsible for verifying every detail, including residential address consistency with government-issued identification. A surprising number of otherwise careful owners still use outdated identification cards after relocating. Under the court's interpretation, a mismatch can be treated as a material error, even if the buyer acted in good faith. This has encouraged many to update their identification promptly to avoid unnecessary delays or accusations. One point raising interest across the nation is the clarification surrounding firearms temporarily loaned to friends or family. The court reaffirmed that federal law permits temporary loans for lawful purposes, such as target shooting or hunting, but it strengthened the requirement that the lender must have no reason to believe the borrower is prohibited. For older Americans who often share firearms with trusted companions during seasonal trips, this means taking extra care to confirm the borrower's legal status rather than relying on assumptions formed decades ago. The ruling also touched on interstate transport protections. The Federal Firearm Owners Protection Act still safeguards the right to travel with unloaded, locked firearms between states where the firearm is legal. However, the court noted that travelers must strictly follow the lock container requirement, even during short rest stops. Several drivers have learned the hard way that placing a cased firearm on a car seat, even unloaded, may not meet the standard. This clarification matters for anyone planning cross-country road trips, especially retirees enjoying long-awaited travel. Questions surrounding firearm accessories received long-awaited clarification as well. The court confirmed that accessories not altering the fundamental firing mechanism, such as standard optics or basic recoil pads, remain unregulated at the federal level. But it allowed agencies to continue regulating items that convert a firearm's rate of fire or classification. Industry observers expect the ATF to revisit older definitions, and many owners are now reviewing their equipment to ensure that what they purchased years ago still aligns with federal interpretation today. For firearm collectors, the decision reinforced federal oversight of serialized components. While home assembly remains legal, the court supported the government's authority to require serialization on core components when they are manufactured or transferred commercially. Retirees who enjoy restoring classic firearms or assembling replicas should stay mindful of whether their projects involve parts that now fall under clarified serialization standards. This is not about punishing hobbyists. It is about ensuring that every major component can be traced when entering or leaving the market. The ruling also highlighted the seriousness of record retention for federally licensed dealers. Although this primarily affects storefront businesses, it indirectly influences buyers by ensuring that their purchase data remains accessible for compliance checks. Some older gun owners have expressed concern about privacy, but the court reiterated that these records are not public and may only be accessed under the same federal limits that have existed for years. Mental health prohibitions remain unchanged, yet the court's decision emphasized early reporting accuracy. Situations involving temporary mental health crises, such as brief hospitalizations, may continue to trigger prohibitions until formally resolved through the appropriate state or federal relief process. Owners supporting family members through difficult periods should be aware of how these reports interact with federal databases. Finally, the ruling underscored that none of these clarifications diminish the fundamental right to keep and bear arms. Instead, they sharpen the boundaries of responsible ownership in a time when courts, agencies, and citizens face growing expectations for accountability. Many Americans over 50 feel the weight of these changes because they have lived through decades of shifting legal landscapes. That experience is valuable, and staying current ensures that responsible owners remain exactly that: responsible, informed, and confident. If you find this breakdown useful, taking a moment to like this video and subscribe helps us keep bringing clear, factual updates that cut through confusion. Many people in your community depend on accurate information, and your engagement helps ensure they get it when it matters most.